Yeah, so this is a fair use from the Act of 1976. Disclaimer, Section 107, under critical and teaching and scholarship and educational purposes, research. I am not making any money off this. This is fair use, fair use.
Khan, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai. I want to give all praises, all honor, and all glory. Kahaloyim Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rachaha Kodash. I'd like to give double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well and do well. To the elder apostles, bishops in Connecticut, the bishops, the preachers, the teachers, the evangelists, and the four winds preaching in truth and sincerity, risking your lives more now than ever, the hopeful elect, the elect, Shalom. To the Israelite foreigners who phenotype may look like another nation, but bloodline goes back to Israel through your father and have come back to the fold, Shalom. To your sisters, who listen and learn under your husband, which is your spiritual leader, with meekness and with silence. This is your brother Ram Yahweh with a lesson.
He's the Las Vegas man who claims he can summon UFOs on command. Pretty wild. So we sent Action News reporter Mike Delastrito to get the real story. But what he found shocked everyone and could leave you wondering, are UFOs real?
And forget the short-term fixes and diets that don't work. Kathy Ray has a plan for every lifestyle to help you win the battle of the bulge. Breaking news, solving problems. This is Channel 13 Action News, live at 11.
Good evening, and thanks for joining us. I'm Trisha Keene.
And I'm Steve Wolford. Well, let's take another trip back into the realm of paranormal tonight. Last night we had ghost hunters, now UFOs.
That's right, and there is a Las Vegas guy making an extraordinary claim about extraterrestrials. So we sent Action News reporter Mike Delastrito to check it out. Mike?
All right, guys, just listen up here. This guy says the Old Testament, written in Hebrew, taught him how to summon UFOs. All right, he says he can also do this on command, and he adds he's been doing it for 25 years, keeping all of it secret until now.
These beings are here. They're here. They're just sitting right up there.
We met up with Prophet Yahweh, seer of Yahweh, at Doolittle Park off Lake Mead. We picked the day, we picked the time, and we picked the location. Everyone's going to think you're absolutely nuts.
Well, I thought I was absolutely nuts.
Until he says he saw UFOs. Over the years, 1,500 of them.
If we make it 1,501 today, what do you think? I'll try it.
He says the voice in his head told him to go public now, so we took him up on his offer, and we scanned the skies. Nothing but a few clouds. When the prophet started praying for a sighting, I wasn't exactly convinced.
I pray, oh Yahweh, that you send a sighting so that they know that I am not mentally ill. I am not a false prophet. Like those who seek to kill me say I am.
I mean something straight up.
Oh, brother, look at it. There it is.
You can barely see it, a white speck. Then another sighting.
There it is. I got it.
Photojournalist Jonathan Hawkins locks in on it. Let's take a closer look here. It's an orange sphere that appeared out of nowhere. I call the boss with an unexpected change in my story.
I can see it as clear as day. In fact, it's bright.
I can't believe it.
It's moving pretty fast.
It's gone to Nellis Air Force Base. It wants to be seen.
We called Nellis to see what these things might be. Guess what? They didn't call us back. But this thing started coming back toward us.
It's coming toward us now, I think.
What?
See, it's coming up toward us.
Whoa, man! Oh, hallelujah!
Then, a few seconds later, it disappeared.
It's going back up in space.
Prophet Yahweh isn't concerned. He says it'll be back. And I'm still not quite sure what those things were. Now, if I didn't see this for myself, I probably would have just laughed this whole thing off. Prophet Yahweh says, though, this is just the beginning. He says we're going to see a lot more of these things starting next week. And he says one will come down low enough for all of Las Vegas to see. Mike Delastrito, Channel...
Yes, this is Zechariah chapter 5, verse 1. Then I turned and lifted up my eyes and looked, and behold, right, which means to look, feast your eyes, look, pay attention. A flying roll, right? You know, and it says, verse 2, Zechariah 5 and 2. And he said unto me, what seest thou? And I said, I answered, I see a flying roll. The length thereof is 20 cubits, and the breadth thereof 10 cubits. Right? Yeah, so this is a AI overview. It says a space measuring 20 cubits long, right? Which that's what it said the chariot was, right? Which is the curse that goes out through the whole earth, right? Which is a chariot, what they call UFOs is a chariot, right? A vehicle. Chariot just means vehicle, right? right? So it's identified. It's not an unidentified. It's identified as the chariots or the vehicles of Israel, right? And it says 20 cubits long and 10 cubits wide, right? That's basically what it was speaking of. And it said is roughly 30 feet by 15. So it's 30 feet long and about 15 feet wide, right? It says this area covers about 450 square feet, which is roughly equivalent to the size of a standard 2-car garage or a small studio apartment. So just to give you like a rough measurement of how big this is, right? Which could have been the size of that chariot, or what the dude called an orb, when this guy, this brother had called the chariot, right? Because obviously if he, the Lord's definitely dealing with him on some type of level, or he was. I don't know if he done checked out by now, seen the spiritual world, because that was an old video. I remember that video when I first came into the truth. That was one of the ones I seen, and it kind of always stuck with me. And I thought about it the other day. I was speaking with the brothers that I camp with, and I mentioned it and showed the brother. I think one brother said he never seen it, and I showed him. He was like, "Whoa, yeah." So I was just like, I'm gonna do a lesson on that. Because what you heard in the little news thing say, these things want to be seen, because we're at the time of judgment, so they want to be seen. Yeah. So let me pick back up here. I'm getting excited. Let me pick back up so I can make sure I finish this. Zechariah 5:2, and he said unto me, what seest thou? Right. And I answered, I see a flying roll. The length thereof is 20 cubits, and the breadth thereof, right, the width, right, is 10 cubits. So that's like 30 by 15, right? It's like a 2-car garage. So it's still a decent size. It's not super big, but it's still a decent size. You know what I mean? That's like 2 by, that's a decent size though. You think about that. 2, like a car, like two standard size car garages or a studio apartment. It's a pretty decent size. Not to mention you're speaking of that he's looking at it from the sky, and when you're on the ground looking up, things may seem smaller when they're actually bigger, and vice versa, right? Because when you're in the air and you're looking down, things look small, right? So it says, then said he unto me, this is the curse. See, and that's what's about to happen. The judgment is about to go forth throughout the earth. This is the curse that goeth forth over the face of the whole earth. See, they want to be seen, what he was saying. Even for everyone that stilleth shall be cut off, right? And then this planet is full of thieves, man. Starting with the self-proclaimed so-called white man, but all these nations are thieves, man. China, it ain't just Esau. China's over there in Africa. China's over there in Brazil. China's in all these different places, following right behind Esau in the thievery, the great rob and smurder of the indigenous people everywhere, and namely the Israelites, right? That's the whole thing. But the Lord said he's gonna everyone that stilleth shall be cut off. See, somehow they think they're gonna escape because of technology, right? They think they have a way out. Well, if the technology don't save me, I'm gonna go to the bunkers. Well, you're gonna be the first fruits of slavery, right? That's all it is. It says as this on this side according to it, right? And everyone that sweareth shall be cut off as on that side according to it, right? Because when you go to swear, it ultimately goes to making an oath, and they made an oath, right? Yeah. So what right here, Psalms 83:4, they have said, right? these other nations, right? These heathen nations. So I don't see how you could fix your mouth to say that other nations could be saved, because this is what all the nations have come together. They have said, come, let us cut them off from being a nation. Who? The Israelites, right? Which really you go back to the ancient, the paleo, right? Which means to carry over, right? Which is the Hebrew ibar, right? The ancient, right? Carry over that ancient custom, right? Which goes back into the original language of the earth, and ultimately what heaven, right? And that in the Hebrew, Yasha'Allah, right? Right? They're really there to cut off Yasha'Allah, right? And it says, come, let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Yasha'Allah may be no more in remembrance, right? Because you hear the word Israel every day. You know, they're doing the G-siding right now. They're in cahoots with the daughter of Babylon right now to go against the Persians, which is going to ultimately, the least of the flock shall draw them out into a total annihilation in the third woe, right? So it says, that the name of Yasha'Allah may be no more in remembrance. And we didn't remember that we were Yasha'Allah, right? You know, right? The so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native Indians are calling themselves something else. We're what's it called? Divide and conquer. We're divided, and we're completely conquered under our enemies, behind our enemies' line. Behind enemy lines, right? Which they could come up with all these different because our food, everything is you know what I mean? Hey, we got to go to them for the one of all things: food, medicine, education. Hey, that's not a good thing. When you got to go to your enemy for food, education, water, hey, you're in a very bad space. Which that's what they've been doing, and that's why they say that the name may be no more in remembrance, right? Through their educational system, teach you false ways, lies, right? For they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee, right? Because even when you come to what's that, Mexican Independence Day, right? I have been told that Cinco de Mayo is not their actual Independence Day, but they push that and they celebrate that here in America. So as a young so-called Mexican, you grow up, and as time go on, even though people may tell you about, oh, that's not the real, you're not really concerned with the actual real day. You're so indoctrinated with Cinco de Mayo, the actual day that you doesn't mean much to you, especially since it was a so-called Negro that actually helped you get your independence, right? Why they teach you to hate your brother and call him a maate, right? Which is going into what giving you a doctrine that will leave you rendered and leave you separate, leave you scattered, leave you where you're divided and conquered in the land of your enemy, right? So it says, for they have consulted, right? See, that means they come together, and that's like another way of saying conspiracy, right? In order to be a conspiracy, it means con meaning with, and inspired means to breathe. So consult, right, means to speak, right? You know, they came together. So it's almost the same thing as a conspiracy, you know? But they will tell you, oh, these are conspiracy theories, right? But these so-called theories, which are thoughts, right? When you go into theory just mean a thought, and you have to have a thought that you're in the land of your enemy. And your enemy controls everything. You can't figure that this guy means you any good. You know, I'm gonna put 100% of trust in you in this system, or in anything this guy says or does. It's crazy, but a lot of people do. But they have consulted, right, all these nations together with one consent. See, the Novus Ordo Seclorum, right, the New World Order, right, together with one consent. They are confederate against thee, right? They're all confederate. They're good with coming together with the New World Order. Just other things, other economic, land grabs, That's where they have beef at. That's where they fight each other at. You know. But as far as pushing you Israelites and keeping you down and keeping you not knowing who you are, they're fine with that. The tabernacle of Edom, right, which is a self-proclaimed so-called white man, and the Ishmaelites, right, which we know those, which people call them Arabs or whatever, but Arab just means mixed, which they're not mixed. They're Ishmael, right? These Arab believing Ishmaelites, right? And it says Moab, which are the Chinese, the Hagarenes, which are basically the Egyptians, right? Because Hagar goes back to Hagar, right? She was an Egyptian, which goes back to Ishmael, because the mother was an Egyptian, but what's his name? Kedar and Ishmael. Yeah, basically Kedar, Ishmael, because Kedar was Ishmael's son. So yeah, it goes back to the Hagarenes, right? Which goes back to the Ishmaelites. Gebal, Ammon, and you know Ammon is the so-called Japanese. Gebal, Ammon is Japanese. Amalek is the small hatters over there, pulling the G side over there in the land of Pisrael, right? And the Philistines, which are meant to be Africans, but now those what do you call it? What they calling themselves now? Because it's meant to be Africans, but I know that the people who live Palestine, which are really actually Ishmaelites, but they're saying that they're the Palestinians, because Palestinians or the real Palestinians are Hamites, but these are people who have changed places with lies, man. They want to feed you lies, man. At the end of the day, with the inhabitants of Tyre, right? Yeah, so which would be Ishmaelites that's there, but the Philistines and Tyre are actually Hamites, technically. And then Ashur also, to join with them, they have Holub, the children of Lot, right, which are the so-called Japanese, and the Chinese, which is Moab and Ammon, right? And then of course you know that those was it North Korea, South Korea has to be what you call them? They have to be a descendants of either Moab or Ammon, right? So they're basically like the children of Lot as well. But this is that consult. They consulted together, which goes into like an oath, right? Yeah, so this is 2 Ezra chapter 16, verse 1. Woe, which means what? Judgment. Weeping and gnashing of teeth. Be unto thee Babylon, which is America, the daughter of Babylon, and Asia, that's China, Japan, right, which would be Moab, Ammon, right? You know, it was that all them little islands and things that's down underneath them, you know, Taiwan, right? That whole thing, what thing's gonna happen is all a judgment. If China goes over there, which America's not going to be able to defend them, that's really ultimately going to be judgment. You know, you know, the things that happen to North Korea, South Korea is ultimately going to be judgment, right? Though I guess you don't really consider that place being Asia, but we know that you're the descendants of those people. You have to be, right? No one else. You can go way to the other side and still look like an incest baby. We know who you come from. You're from the children of Lot, right? Woe, right? Says it again. Judgment be unto what? Egypt, right? Those, that those well, I guess they're the Ishmaelites there now, you know, and Syria, right? Which those are Ishmaelites, goes into Ishmael. So that's pretty much that same thing all over again. Ishmael, you know, Asia, right? Chinese, the Japanese, what they call today, which are Moab, Ammon, right? And basically Ishmael, and then and then Esau, which is the you know, Babylon the Great, right? America. Yeah, so this is Jeremiah chapter 48, verse 20. It says Moab, right, which is so-called Chinese, is confounded, right? And that's what's going to happen. You're going to be confounded because you have joint, you made confederate, right? You made an oath with this devil, like basically all you nations did, but especially you, Moab, right? For it is broken down. Howl and cry, ye cry, howl and cry, ye it in Anan, that Moab is spoiled. Hey, the Lord's gonna take, hey man, he's gonna take your whole kingdom down, man. Your spoils, all that gold and all that things you've been piling up. Hey, even you have been piling up, heaping up treasures for the last days, really for the elect's sake, right? And it says, and judgment, see, because ultimately that's coming around to you, right? You're not gonna escape, right? You made an oath with this devil to cut off the children of Israel. Hey, you're gonna get a judgment. So that curse that goeth about the whole earth, which is those chariots, right? What they call UFOs or UAPs, are also coming for you. It says, and judgment is come upon the plain country, upon Holan, and upon Jahaza, and upon Methfath, and upon Methfath. I'm skip that one, and upon Kurtime, Kurathime, and upon Beth Gamal, like it, and upon Beth Mian, Beth Mian, and upon Kurthos, and upon what? Basra, right? Which is Esau, Edom, Basra, right? And upon all the cities of the land of what? Of Moab, which is the so-called Chinese, far and near, right? So that's the Lord mentioning Basra, which is the Edomites, with Moab. Same thing as it did in the second Ezra 16:1, right? Showing you that Babylon and Asia, right, which would be Esau and Moab, right? The horn of Moab is cut off. Your power structure is going to be cut off, right? You know, your military, right? Because you got a strong military as well as America. So your military is about to get cut off from the Lord, and all his arm, right, which your military is broken, right? That's your strength. Your arm is your strength, especially your right hand is representative of your strength. Your arm for strength, yeah, which goes into your military. His arm is broken, saith Yahweh. Basham Yahweh Shai, man. Yeah, so this is Psalms 68:21. It says, but the power of the Most High Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rakha HaKwadash, shall wound the head of his enemies, and the hairy scalp, such an one as goeth on still in his trespasses, right? And when you go into the Mount Seir means hairy, right? And the Lord did wound, Rome, right? And Rome being healed, the one with the deadly wound that was healed and returned as NATO, EU, and America, right? And it says, that's basically representative of what Babylon, or the daughter of Babylon, right? And it says, and the Lord said, I will bring again from Bashan. Yeah. Thus saith the outer one, Most High Yahweh Bashem Awashai, I will bring again from Bashan, and I will bring my people again from the depths of the sea, right? Right? Because the Lord, what? He brought us out of Egypt. But he brought us out of other captivities, right? Because we were under the captivity of Bashan. I believe we're in a captivity under what is it called? Ammon, the Ammonites, which are the Japanese, right? Yeah, so this is Google. I think it's like AI or whatever, just Google. I think it just automatically goes into AI now. In biblical history, the Ammonites, which is so-called Japanese, and the kingdom of Bashan were neighboring Jordan territories east of the Jordan River. Bashan, ruled by the great king Og, bordered the Ammonite kingdom. They connection is famously memorialized in the Bible by King Og's massive iron bed, which was kept in the Ammonite, right, which is so-called Japanese, capital city of Rabbah, right? So they had, because sometimes, they said they had a race of giants. Yeah, there was some Ammonites and things. Yeah, they're kind of big, tall and shit. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, so this is Google. It says, according to biblical history, two major regional powers, Og, king of Bashan, and the king of the Ammonites oppose. See, they keep trying to say that they're different, but they're not. They said they were ruling the same place, which is the Ammonites were ruling that land. But they're trying to make it like this king. Well, maybe they were different, but they were ruling together. It don't matter, you know. Obviously, right here it says they oppose the Israelites as they travel towards the promised land after coming out from Egypt. See, and then the Lord said to blot out Amalek for doing such a thing. See, but the crazy thing is the Lord is not going to blot you out for doing it, but you are going to get a judgment, right? Because the Lord told us not to fight against Amalek, or against Esau, basically be Esau, which Amalek is basically Esau, is Edom, who the giant ruler of the region of Bashan, right? Yeah, see, they had giants, right? And it says the conflict when Moses and the Israelites approached, Og gathered his entire army and came out to fight them at Edrei. The outcome, the Israelites defeated Og, his sons, and his people. Right, so this must be why the Lord said that He's going to bring His people out like Bashan, right, which means victory in a battle in this war. First spiritually, and then ultimately, it's going to come out physically too, right? It says, leaving no survivors. They captured all 60 of his fortified cities and claimed his territory, right? Because you should have left, should have left us alone. Hey, got it. Hey, might as well. Hey, but that's ultimately what's going to happen to the entire world, right? We're going to come in and claim our territory. We're going to go back into that land, and then there's going to be certain even territories where you other people live at. We're going to be the priest in that land. We're going to be in what you would call the suburbs of that land, and we're going to be the priest in those lands, right? So the Lord's going to give you your land back after your 1,000 years of slavery, but there's going to be Israelite headquarters in every land, right? That you're going to have to report to. But claimed his territories, which spanned it from the Jordan River to Mount Hormon, right? Yeah. Now that makes a lot more sense because those Japanese they be having a long hair, Esau believes in having long hair, all this stuff, and they definitely trespass against us, and continuously, right, come up against, and the Lord said, and the Lord I will bring again from Besh, and thus say, yes, and the Lord said, I will bring again from Bashan. I will bring my people again from the depths of the sea, right? From hell, right? We're gonna win in victory, right? They came up against him, took all their land, right? That's gonna happen again. That thy foot may be dipped in the blood of thy enemies. See, to have that victory, right? And that's what we're ultimately gonna have to against all you nations, right? And it says, and the tongue of thy dogs in the same, right? And they have seen thy going, O power, most high Yahweh, Bashem. Hey, they've seen what? The chariots. You have seen the Lord's goings. You've seen the miracles. You've seen us come back, bethink ourselves, remember ourselves, right? Though you try to cut us off. Right, and you see ultimately what the those chariots, right? Every country got their own, it's NASA here in America, but I'm pretty sure China has their equivalent to NASA. Russia and all these other places have their, and they see the chariots, right? So then they know that they have but a short time, right? Says, oh power, most high Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, even the going of my power, right? Chariots, right? Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, my king in the sanctuary, right? Hey, man. Let me skip down here. Right? Because what it says, to him, skipping down, it says Psalms 68 and verse 33, to him that rideth upon the heavens of heavens, right? So when you got a big, massive ship, which that's what the Lord is going to come in, that father ship, that flying mountain, it's going to literally come in from the heavens, which would be what they call outer space, and be over the heavens, which you would call up here in the sky, right? So you got the heavens of heavens, right? Not to mention he's directly from the heavens of heavens, from the fourth dimension, man, right? It says which were of old, lo, which means to look, he doeth send out his voice, and that a mighty voice, right? Because it says that it sounds like the voice of many waters, man. But also talks about how the Lord was said open up his mouth and never held sword, or weapon when he opened up his mouth. Right, I'm gonna have to get that after this. And it says, ascribed ye strength unto power, unto the Most High. Ascribed ye strength unto Most High. His excellency is over Israel, right? Well, basically Yasharallah, right? It's over Yasharallah, right? And his strength is in what? The clouds. Hey, the chariots, the UFOs, the UAPs. That's the Lord's strength. He's gonna come down. Hey, the guy said they want to be seen. They're gonna show that strength, right? O power, Most High Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, thou art terrible, right? Right? Thou art terrible out of thy holy place, right? The power of Israel, right? The God, right? The power of Israel, Yasharallah, right? The power of Yasharallah is he that goeth strength, and power unto his people, right? Blessed be the Most High Power, Yahweh Bashem Awashai. Yeah, so this is 2nd Ezra chapter 13, verse 27. And whereas thou sawest that out of his mouth there came as a blast of wind and fire and storm, right? See, out of his mouth. That mighty, what? It said a mighty voice, right? And that's pretty much like, what that is, that laser beam, concentrated laser beam fire is coming out of his mouth, a loud voice, right? A mighty voice, it said, and it says, because it says out of his mouth, right? It says, and that he held neither sword nor instrument of war, but that the rushing in of his destroyed, the rushing in of him destroyed, right? Yeah, because the Lord's coming fast. The chariots move fast. Hey, he's going to be destroying things, man. The chariots move very fast, right? That came to subdue him, right? Because the multitude, the whole multitude, which is these different militaries, which are going to be all the militaries of all these countries that's in the Psalms 83. They're going to fight against the Lord. That came to subdue him is subdue him. That is the interpretation, right? Yeah, so this is Revelation chapter 1, verse 7. Behold, which means feast your eyes, look, pay attention. He cometh with clouds, right? That's the UFOs, UAPs, right? Ultimately, what? It's really the vehicles of the Most High, right? They're identified as vehicles, right? And your car is your car has, back in the day they used chariots were they have either some type of horse and a connection where someone can be in, back in the day they just show you when a person's standing in it and the horse is pulling, that's a chariot. But all of it's chariot. You had the wagons, the carriages, back in the time, the Oregon Trail, right, which are basically they call it a caravan. All those different and they travel together, which is a caravan, right? Those are all chariots, right? It's a vehicle. Matter of fact, if you pay attention to even back in the day, they used to call it a car, right? So that's where you get the word car from, or the word vehicle, because it's a car, it's a vehicle, right? And that's just that, So That's basically, chariots, the clouds, chariots, the vehicles. And every eye shall see him, and they also which pierced him, and all kindreds, right? So all these different nations. So now we're in a time where you want to talk about all nations, all people. Okay, now this is talking about all nations, all people. You want a blanket statement, everything? Well, this is the time the blanket statement is. So all kindreds of the earth shall wail because of him, right? Because of Yahushua, right? Because of these chariots. We just read that it's the curse that goeth through the whole earth, all right? Even so, Aman, right? So let it be so, which that's what that Aman means. Aman means to let it be so, right? I am the Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end, right? The Lord, he said he created the worlds by his son. So he's the beginning of your world. He's going to be the end of your world, man. All right, the beginning and the end, the Lord, the out of one, Yahushai, which is, which was, and which is to come, the Almighty. Yeah, basically, yeah, the Almighty, man. Yep. Basically, it goes into the Alahims, right? Because that's what he's going to bring. The angels, the Alahims, right? Yeah, so this is second Esdras, right, in the Apocrypha, which is canon, by the way. 13 verse 3 says, I beheld, which means to look. Feast your eyes, look, pay attention. And lo, right, which means to look, that man, right, which is talking about Yahushai, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, right, his that second return of our Lord and Savior, which is Yahushai, Lord willing, he be my Savior, right? Because he's definitely coming to destroy too, right? He's gonna come with balance. He's gonna have salvation on the right hand and destruction and damnation on the left hand, right? Which damnation don't mean you're going to hell. It just means you're gonna die, be put in the grave, or you're going into chains. You're gonna be in slavery, right? You're gonna be under servitude of Yahushai first and foremost, which is an Israelite. So you are going into slavery under the Israelites, the top Israelite being Yahushai and King David, and and then, lucky me, by default, I'm an Israelite. So it's going to be a beautiful thing. I mean, hey, I'm going to take it. You know what I'm saying? Because that's what you Edomites did by default. You were a self-proclaimed so-called white man, and no, you wasn't rich, but you took advantage of white privilege. So hey, why wouldn't I take advantage of the privilege of being an Israelite? You know what I'm saying? So it says that that man waxed strong, right? Hey, that's that strength, the strength of heaven, right? Strong with the thousands, which are going to be the angels, the thousands of heaven, which is the angels, right? The Alahims. And when he turned his countenance to look, right? Look, pay attention. To look, all things trembled. See? He said he was terrible. We read that earlier. He's terrible. That were seen under him, right? So all the whole world is going to be under him. That fathership is going to come in. It's going to be huge, right? Skipping down, 2nd Esdras chapter 13, verse 6. But I beheld, which means to look, and lo, to look, feast your eyes, look, pay attention. He given himself a great mountain. And that chariot, what they call UFOs, UAPs, is going to be so huge. It's like a flying mountain. It's going to be like it's a flying country. Like it's going to be huge. It's going from one end of the heaven to the other. And bro, and hey, the Lord is coming, bro. Second coming of our Lord Yahushua, and flew upon it. Hey, that mountain don't fly. So what are you talking about? What is it talking about? Chariot. But I would have seen the region or place where out the hill was driven, and I could not. Right? And after this, I beheld, which means to look, and lo, to look, all they which were gathered to subdue, right? Because all these nations, right? You're in Psalms 83. You have your laser weapons. You have they even got other kind of weapons, right? because you know these are things that they look to come against the spiritual realm. Yeah, right? They look to, they're gonna be like Ghostbusters. They're gonna be like they're gonna have like some type of thing like a proton pack. They gotta do what they can do to come against the Lord. So Salaki, excuse me for that. I just had to let me clear my throat. Yeah, but continue. To subdue him were sore afraid. Yeah, see, and all that look when he turned to look his countenance, hey, they all trembled. Right? He's terrible, bro. Hey, man, you think you're a terrorist, Esau? The Lord is the king of terror, right? It says, together to subdue him, we're sore afraid, and yet there's fight. So the Lord is going to put the spirit on you to go ahead and fight anyway. And lo, which means to look, as I saw, right, which proves it, the violence of them, right? Because they're going to be shoot. Because we've seen it. We've seen the videos of them shooting at the chariots. They're going to do it again. They're going to be shooting, having violence, trying to use their weapons, trying to use their little proton packs or whatever. They're going to, they laser beams, all sorts of things that come. That the multitude that came, he neither lifted up, right? What I read earlier, neither lifted up. He neither lifted up his hand, nor held sword, nor instrument of war, right? So I kind of read that earlier, which is in the same chapter, but down a little bit further. But, we're going to get to the point. It says, but only I saw that he sent out of his mouth, right? See, showing you that mouth, that voice, that mouth, as it had been a blast of what? Of fire, and out of his lips a fiery breath, and out of his tongue he cast out sparks and tempest, which is not his actual tongue. It's speaking about the opening of the chariot, right? Like you've seen on that Independence Day with the first one. I don't remember the second one so much, because the other brother be like, man, that second one was good too. I might have to watch it so I can, I can see. But I remember the first one. It opened up over the White House. It opened up over that big building with all those people with the little signs. Hey, E.T., is Elvis there? Open up and blast it. That's what's going to happen. The war of worlds, right? Just like the one with Tom Cruise. The people were running, and they were getting blasted and turning into powder, man. That's what the Lord is finna come and bring. That's going to be the curse that goeth through the whole earth, man. Right? That's these chariots. They want to be seen, like the brother was saying. They want to be seen because they're coming for that judgment. Right? Don't be surprised. Right? Yeah. Out of his tongue cast sparks and tempest, right? That concentrated laser beam fire. Right? And they were all mixed together, the blast of fire, the fiery breath, and the great tempest, and fell with violence upon the multitude which was prepared to fight, and burned them up every one, so that upon a sudden the innumerable multitude neither was nothing was to be perceived, but only dust and smell of smoke. When I saw this, I was afraid. Hey, you better be afraid. You better be afraid, right? Because even the elect, it says that we're going to scarcely be saved. Lord willing, part of that number. But if not, hey, you got a good reason to be afraid, right? Yeah. So this is Zechariah chapter 6, verse 1. And I turned and lifted up my eyes and looked, and behold, which we know that means to look. Feature eyes, look, pay attention. There came 4 chariots? See, showing you coming. There came 4 chariots. Yeah, Salaki, let me do it again. It says, and I turned to lift up my eyes and looked, and behold, there came 4 chariots out from between 2 mountains. So we just read the one where the Lord was riding on a mountain. Yahweh Shai is coming on that mountain, that flying mountain. But this one says there's going to be 2 flying mountains, right? Chariots, big ones. So one's going to have Yahweh Shai, the other one's going to be Michael the archangel, right? And I'm just saying this by faith. I'm not saying this is how you break it down, but this is how I'm thinking that because one we just read, definitely Yahweh Shai is going to be on a flying mountain. So the other flying mountain has to be Michael's, right? It says two mountains, between two mountains, and it says and the mountains were mountains of brass, right? Yes, this is Daniel chapter 12, verse 1. Hey. And it says, and at that time, right, what time? The end time, the time of the second return of our Lord, Yahweh Shai, shall Michael, right, which means Micah Allah, meaning who is like the power, who is like, the power, right, which is also a he's a warrior, right, because it tells you that the Lord is a man of war, right? When you go into Exodus? It's Exodus 3 and 15 or 15 and 3. I don't know. I'll be jacking it up sometimes. Let me see. Yeah, so obviously, yeah, sometimes I get it backwards. It says Exodus 15:3, Yahweh, right? All caps, Yahweh, basically, Yahweh Bashem Shai is a man of war, right? Yahweh being the Father, Yahweh Shai being the Son. They're not the same person. They're two different levels and people, or God. Yahweh is the Most High, and Yahweh Shai is a God, but not the Most High God, right? Showing his servitude to his Father. That's what he said. I came to serve my Father. You can't be. How do you serve? How do you come in servitude of yourself? Doesn't make sense, right? Hey, but it says, the Lord Yahweh is a man of war. So Yahweh Bashem Yahushai is a man of war. Yeah, Yahweh Bashem Yahushai is his name, right? Yeah, so basically Micah Allah, right, is a man of war, just like Yahweh, right? It says, and stand up, the great prince, right? So Micah Allah stand up, the great prince, which standeth for the children of thy people, right? Which Daniel is an Israelite. So he's coming back to stand up and to defend the Israelites, starting with the elect, right? And only the elect on this side, as far as it is concerned, which they might help the 2/3 out a little bit here and there. Who knows? I mean, you still got to get your judgment, but that don't mean that the Lord won't, frustrate, these devils, their goings, right? Because something got to happen. The angels are always working, right, technically. You know what I mean? The good, bad, and the ugly. The angels are doing the will of the Lord. Things are happening. If there's evil in the city and the Lord has not done it, right? So if there's evil, and the Lord sanctioned that, basically He didn't do it. The Lord's not evil, but judgment must go out. The Lord has to sanction that judgment must have to happen to you. You can't go on unscathed forever, right? So judgment has to happen. And it says, to children of thy people, which are Israelites, and there shall be a time of trouble, right? Jacob's trouble. And that's going to be the polycrisis, time of trouble, which as never was since there was a nation, even to the same time. And at that time, thy people, which are the Israelites, which is the elect, shall be delivered, every one that shall be found, right? That's not the whole world, and that's not even all of Israel. So definitely you're not gonna find this magical Edomite that he could be saved because certain individuals say so. You know what I mean? No. Thus saith the Lord, and every one that shall be found written in the book, right? Yeah, so this is Zechariah chapter 5, verse 3. Then said he unto me, this is the curse that goeth forth over the face of the whole earth, for every one that stilleth shall be cut off, as on this side according to it, and every one that swears, right, like an oath, like I spoke of that earlier, shall be cut off as on that side according to it, right? Another way they have you swear on the Bible here in America, and they tell bold-faced lies and all sorts of things over the Bible, which maybe could be considered blasphemy in itself too, or like a highly offense type situation, at least, you know, like you're putting your hand on the Bible and then you go through and just like, I solemnly swear I will hold everything to the Constitution, and then do everything opposite of the Constitution, do everything opposite of the Bible, right? But then there's supposed to be no judgment, right? Not that the Lord cares about the Constitution, but you lie, right? You know, hey, bro, you lie, and then you lie on the Bible by putting your hand on the Bible, reading scriptures. All of a sudden they're reading out of the Apocrypha, swearing the president, and man, hey, bro, hey, you're gonna be counted for that. It says, and I will bring it forth, saith Yahweh, right? The chariots, they're coming. Saith Yahweh, Bashem Yahushai, of hosts. So lots of angels are coming. Chariots, angels, armies, right? The Lord is a man of war. So he's bringing a host, right? And it shall enter into the house of the thief, right? America been stolen. Canada, Australia, South America, South Africa. Hey, they stealing stuff right now. Stealing the gold in the Congo, gold and stuff in Nigeria. Man, this is why all of a sudden the Ebola popped up in those areas. Why? You're stealing their precious minerals, man. So if you pop up with a goddamn poly crisis, right? You know, you could take over the world, take over their things, and then everybody's concerned about all sorts of things, because now you took the Epstein off the list, because everybody's worried about their economic holding, you know, where they have a job, the AI gonna take over their job, this, that, and another. But hey, it's gonna enter into the house of the thief, these chariots, these UFOs, and they want to be seen. And unto the house of him that swear. Oh, there it is. You made an oath. You made an oath, which that's why the Lord said he's gonna visit all you nations, right? And the main one he started out with was Esau, man. He even said it to Rashar, yeah, right. He said, I will visit you in the latter days, right? Which being those chariots. I might end with that one, just to show that the Lord's coming to visit. And how is he visit? He's visiting with these chariots, man. Yeah, that sweareth falsely, yeah, by my name, yeah. Like I said, you swear on the Bible. It's God, even though his name is not Jehovah or Jah or Yahweh or JC, is real, or whatever else they come up with, all these different names. Even some of these Israelite camps, Most High Christ blessed, Ashar was a High Ashar, High. Yeah, it's not that. It's not that. Not at all. Yahweh, Bahasham Yahushai, right? But the Lord's gonna still, he's gonna count you, because judgment must go forth, right? And that's basically what he's doing. And that swear falsely by my name, and it shall remain in the midst of the house. And it shall remain in the midst of his house, right? Right, and shall consume it with the timber, right? It was for burning. Which then he said was that breath, that fire out of his mouth, the breath, the flaming fire, the sparks, the tempest. Like the timber, and timber, you put your wood or whatever in a fireplace, and that timber it burns, right? We're talking about with the land, the land, the trees, everything is gonna burn, which they know about that. They do weapons, everything burnt with that, except for anything that had blue. But when it comes to the Lord, it could be blue, purple, green. It's gonna burn through. It ain't gonna, you know what I'm saying? Nothing stops the Lord, with the timber thereof, and the stone. See, everything, bro, and the stones thereof, right? Everything gotta go, man. The Lord's he's gonna burn this thing up, man. Hey, it's gonna melt. The elements is gonna melt with fervent heat, right? elements are going to melt, right? Via through the ICBM missiles, but also the chariots. So with all that, I want to give all praises, all honor, and all glory unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, or Chaha Chodash. Like to give double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well and do well. To the elder apostles, bishops in Connecticut, the bishops, the preachers, the teachers, the evangelists, and the four winds preaching in truth and sincerity, risking your lives more now than ever, the hopeful elect. The elect, Shalom. To the Israelite foreigners who phenotype may look like another nation, but bloodline goes back to Israel through your father and have come back to the fold. Shalom. To you sisters who listen and learn under your husband, which is your spiritual leader, with meekness and with silence. Abba Babal. Kwam Yasharallah.